Hello everybody, today I'm going to be doing this test called the conflict coordinates test. Basically it's going to just tell my stance between Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine. So yeah, let's get into it. Question 1 of 18. If one side in a conflict unilaterally gives up its war gains while the other party does not, the side that gives up its gains is generally morally correct. Maybe this question again, because sometimes I just don't want to miss anything out. Okay, so the one with not necessarily, from what I understand from this question, not necessarily, because if you give up your war gains, it's basically disarming yourself, essentially. And disarming yourself is usually a dumb decision, because then you're just vulnerable to attack. So it's like soft agree, probably, from what I understand from that question at least. Sorry, disagree. I don't think I'll read this probably at the end. Question 2 of 18. If one side in an international conflict is a democracy and the other is a dictatorship, the democracy is generally the one to side with. Most likely, yes, but you always have to judge by the situation. I'm just taking these questions at face value, by the way, not really adding much context into it. Question, I don't like it how it scrolls down as well. Question 3 of 18. No country should be allowed to threaten the sovereignty or territorial integrity of another. Basically, yeah, strong agree. Question 4 of 18. Civilians who have been expelled from their homes in wartime should have the rights to return to those homes when peace settles. Yeah, I don't see why not. Question 5 of 18. A country has a legitimate right to address security concerns in its neighbourhood. Yeah. As long as it's legitimate, and that's an important word, then yes, it has the right to use the minimal security to defend itself or defend itself from attack. Okay, question 6 of 18. Powerful countries have a right to a sphere of influence in their geographical neighbourhood. When I think of sphere of influence, I think of areas outside of your own country, and I don't think you should be able to invade smaller countries just because you border them. So basically, strong disagree. Because when I think of this, I think you can just attack a smaller country just because it borders you and it's not as strong as you. But yeah, strong disagree, I think. Question 7 of 18. Whenever a country tries to control another through military force, that country's actions are a direct threat to international security and stability. Yeah, I would say so. Because if you're trying to control someone through military force, that's basically war. I don't see how you can really get past that fact, really. So yeah, and if you're being violent to one country, what says you won't be violent to another country? A people who have been suddenly and rapidly displaced from their lands may be justified in taking extreme measures to assert themselves. By a people, I'm guessing like a nation. And so suddenly and rapidly displaced from their lands. By extreme measures to assert themselves, I'm guessing defend themselves. I'm guessing that's what it means. So I would, as long as it's genuine self-defense, from what I understand from that question, soft agree. If I don't understand the question fully, the max I'll do is only like a soft or agree or disagree. Okay, next question, question 9 out of 18. Putting international sanctions on a country for supposed wrongdoing tends to exacerbate rather than solve a conflict. It depends. I really want to go neutral on this question, I think. because it means that like the international community is taking one side, and depending on who really runs the international community, that can be a problem. So I'll go neutral, just because you can't really trust who runs the international community. Don't always think it's going to go in your favour or in the side of human rights just because they're international. Question 10 of 18. One side in a conflict can never be justified in maintaining a permanent international blockade against the other. Well, by blockade, does it mean like a border or something? One side in a conflict can never be justified in maintaining a permanent international blockade against the other. Well, blockade, I'd imagine it wants to defend yourself, so if it's in genuine self-defense, I'd imagine disagree. But yeah, this is probably one of the more context important. This is probably one of the questions where context is more important compared to the rest of the questions. Okay. Question 11 of 18. Are people who have an ancient and ancestral connection to a land are justified in claiming that land as a sovereign state? Usually it's not so much as ancient and ancestral, it's more who's there right now, which is more important, I think. So, but because it was like your land probably 2,000 years ago doesn't mean most people should have a right to have that land. It should be basically the people who live there right now, which is more important, so it's a soft disagree. A country may justifiably need to intervene militarily in other countries to protect its security interests. I don't like getting involved in other countries. At most this can be neutral, but I'd say most of the time it would be a soft disagree. Because that statement can be abused. Next question. If a country suppresses the language and or culture of minorities within its borders, other countries may be justified in invading that country to liberate the minorities. No, just because you suppress the language or culture does not mean you should invade a country. But basically I strongly disagree with that. Because it's never really justified to invade a country. That in itself is a war crime, but countries need a military to at least defend themselves. But yeah, we can see that the US uses it more as an aggressive tool than a defensive tool. Okay, question 14 of 18. In any international conflict, the side that is most interested in working out a peace deal is generally the side that is morally correct. I would imagine so, yes. I'll go soft agree though still, but yeah. Question 15 of 18. Every country has the rights to self-determination and to choose its own path. As long as human rights are being followed, yes. If a people is almost universally threatened by racist stereotypes, that people is perhaps more justified than others in taking stern measures to protect itself. Stereotypes are really just words at the end of the day. It's not proper violence. And when I think stern measures to protect itself, I think of a violent solution. So I probably go soft disagree for that. Even though people shouldn't be racist in the first place. Next. Okay, second to last question. One side in a conflict can never be justified in maintaining a permanent occupation of parts of another land. If you invade a land and take over its land, you shouldn't really get to keep that land because it was the other country's land in the first place. So from what I understand about that question, soft agree. And final question. Every country has a sovereign right to join military alliances of their choosing without regard to the security concerns of other countries. As long as they're not going around invading everyone and it's purely just for defensive reasons, like basically NATO nowadays, then I think a sovereign country does have the rights to join a military alliance if they so choose. Security concerns, it's more like, as long as it's not invading another country, I'm fine with joining a military alliance just to be on the defensive side. Okay, let's finish. Where do I land? Okay, I am more supportive of Ukraine and Palestine than Israel and Russia by the looks of this test. But yeah, that's the test really, so is there any text? No. Okay, well yeah, thanks for watching me take this test and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.